sorry God, you want me to leave my job with no plan B? What do you mean? How am I going to survive? What am I going to eat? Where am I going to live? What about my children? What about my family? Let's talk about obedience real quick. What does it mean to be obedient? What do you do when God is telling you to leave a situation, leave a situationship, leave a place, leave a job, leave a career, leave a friendship? And to be honest, you don't necessarily want to, or you are resisting. What does that mean? What does that look like? And we're going to see a story from the Bible. What happened to Abraham? What did Abraham do? And what lessons can we get from him? Because it's not easy. It's not easy to be separated and to walk the path that God has for us. Sometimes he's going to need us to step back. He's going to need us to separate from our families, from our relationships, from our friends, from everything that may be around us. And that's a hard separation. So what do you do? What do you do? Or are you currently in that situation? I'm going to read Genesis 12 verse 1, which says, "Then the Lord said to Abraham, leave your country, leave your kindred and your father's house and go to a land that I'll show you." God told Abraham, I'm going to need you to leave your land, leave your family, leave everything that you've known, leave your culture, leave your comfort, leave your safety, leave your familiar background, and go into a land that I'm going to show you. As God said to you, it's time to leave that job where you've been doing really well, you're up for promotion. God says it's time to go. Maybe you've been in a relationship and you're thinking it's going to lead to marriage, and God is telling you, you need to let that relationship go. Or maybe you're in a career that you know you have no business being in. You know you've got no business being in that, doing that degree or doing that course, because God hasn't told you to do that. You did it out of your own mind. And he says, it's time, I need you to leave. I need you to leave. Or maybe you need to relocate. God is telling you to go into a different country. Your comfort and your safety, and it's been safe up until now. You've been okay because you've been in a bubble of safety. You've been in a bubble of comfort. God says, it's time to leave. And do you know what's weird? God says to Abraham, and I need you to go to a land in which I will show you. He doesn't tell him his next steps. He just says, I need you to leave from this situation and then go to somewhere where I'm going to tell you. He doesn't give him the coordinates. He doesn't give him the address. He doesn't give him the location. He just says, leave, and then I'll tell you. Sorry, God, you want me to leave my job with no plan B? What do you mean? How am I going to survive? What am I going to eat? Where am I going to live? What about my children? What about my family? God says, I need you to go to a land in which I'm going to show you. What does that even mean? Like, what does that actually mean? So you want me to leave my family, go to a land in which you're going to show me? Where is the land? How am I going to know that I've arrived? What do I need to take? What do I need to take with me? What do I need to pack? What needs to be in my suitcase? I'm going to need a few more details, God. And God says, leave and then go into a land I will show you. And then he says in verse 2, God says, I'll make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. So God says to Abraham, I need you to leave from this situation and go into somewhere. I've not told you where, but I need you to go. And then he says, I'm going to bless you. I've got great things for you. You're going to be a great nation. You shall be called blessed. Anyone who curses you shall be cursed. In order to get to this promise right here, you're going to have to first leave your comfort zone. You're going to have to first separate from certain things. There has to be a separation. There has to be a season of separating yourself from other things. Now, it depends on you. It depends where you are in your life, what God is separating you from. What he may separate me from is different to what he'll separate you from. He might be separating you from alcohol. He might be separating you from your friends. He might be separating you from fornication. God was separating Abraham. He's separating you. He says, I need to take you to the next level. You can't take all the junk and all the stuff that's in your current level onto the next level. So therefore, there has to be a separation. There has to be a disconnect. Some of your friends can't go into the next season of your life. Some of your family members can't go into the next season of your life. Your mindset can't go into the next season of your life, and God will begin to remove and peel off the layers and peel off the things which you can't take to the next level. It's like running, you know, those marathon runners, when they're running, you see people wearing the little vests and the little shorts. Now imagine if they were carrying a big drum on their head, they had a rucksack, they couldn't run very fast. And it's the same with us. God needs to remove all the stuff, all the fluff, all the things that weigh us down in order to get us to where he wants us to be. He's got a plan and a purpose for everybody. He's got a plan and a purpose for you. And in order for you to get to the next level, you need to be willing to separate yourself. You need to be willing to surrender. You need to be willing to be obedient to God. God wanted to see whether Abraham was going to be obedient. And do you know what he did? In verse 4 it says, So Abraham departed as the Lord had directed him. And Abraham departed as the Lord directed him. God told him to go, and he went. You don't see in verse 3.5 of the Bible saying, and Abraham negotiated with God. Some of y'all are trying to negotiate. You're trying to negotiate with God, the creator of the universe. He made the stars, he made the sun, he made the sea, he made the flowers, he made you. And you're trying to negotiate with God about you? Make that make sense. Make that make sense. That makes no sense. You're negotiating with God. What if I go next week? Oh God, I'm not ready yet. What if I go next year? Oh God, I just don't think I'm equipped to do so. Oh, but God, I can't speak. Oh, but God, I don't have any money. And all of these are excuses. God is saying, you need to do this. Maybe he's saying you need to start YouTube, or maybe you need to start a business. And he's saying, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. God is just saying, you need to just step out in faith. Go make movements to the land I will show you. When it said that Abraham departed as the Lord directed him, and Abraham was 75 years old. Imagine being in your comfort and safety for 75 years and having to be ripped apart from everything you've known for 75 years. So he, at 75 years old, when he left Haran, and Abraham took his wife Sarai. So imagine being 75 years old and being ripped from your comfort zone, being ripped from everything that you ever knew. He was 75 years. Now you at your small age, God is saying, leave that man that you've been with for 6 months. You can't. You're struggling. What? That job you've been at for a year. You're struggling. Sorry, what? God wants your obedience. God wants your obedience. And anything that you can't obey God about, any instruction that God says to do and you can't do it, you need to be looking at the condition of your heart, because whatever that thing that you're choosing to place over God is an idol. That is idolatry. If you're saying that I can't leave this job, God, because I need to pay my bills, that job is now an idol in your life, because you're putting that thing above God. God has said go and you can't leave it. You're in idolatry. An idol isn't necessarily like this golden calf. It's whatever you put above the place of God. So if you find yourself really struggling to obey what God is saying, find yourself really struggling to listen to the instructions of God, you need to check your heart and see what idols are in your heart. That's a hard pill to swallow. If you can't obey God, there is something that is above God in your heart and in your life. That's a hard pill to swallow. But it's the truth. And it's my job to highlight the truth. What is it that you're fighting God? What is it that you're trying to negotiate with God about? Whatever it is, if God has said leave, get rid of it. Get rid of it. He knows your tomorrow. You don't know your tomorrow. And you're actually wasting time. Like, there are people at the other side of your obedience. There are people that are waiting for you to obey. I feel like I was supposed to start YouTube a long time ago, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know, but God, there are people at the other side of your obedience. There are people that are waiting for you to be in position so that you can help them. So you're actually being selfish when you don't listen. You're actually being selfish. You are being selfish when you're not listening to God, when you're not obeying the instructions of God. Again, he knows you better than you know yourself. Imagine if Abraham hadn't listened to God. Where would we be? Imagine if Abraham had said, do you know what, God, I'm good here. I'm okay. Thanks, but no thanks. Maybe later, maybe next year. But no, he didn't do that. He departed. He went on a journey, not having any idea of where he was going, not having any idea of what he was going to do, who he was going to encounter, what was going to happen. He stepped out in faith blindly. As in, no backup plan. There is no plan. If you have a backup plan for God's plans, you need to get rid of those. God is your plan A. God should be your plan B. And he should also be your plan C all the way to the Z. You don't need a backup plan when you've got God. God should be your plan. Your plan. Just the whole plan. and everything in the plan is God. He didn't say, well, if it doesn't work out, then at least I'm going to leave this door open just in case it doesn't work out. No, God, he cut off the connection and he went. And it's time for you to obey, walk in obedience. Whatever God's telling you to do, do it. Just say, God, I trust you. God, I trust you. God, I trust you. I don't have everything figured together. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to choose to trust you. I'm going to choose to believe that all things are working together for my good. I'm going to choose to believe that you have plans for me, and your plans are for me to prosper and have a great end. I'm going to trust you, God. And that's all you need to be saying. God, I'm going to walk in obedience and I'm going to choose to trust you. I surrender everything to you. Have your way. And that should be your prayer. And walk in it. Walk in that obedience. And it's not this bad thing that's happening to you. You will see that God will pour out his blessings on you for being obedient. And the same way, when Abraham started walking out in obedience and in faith, God blessed him for it. He became the father of nations. He's the father of faith. And so many other great things came out of him, but he had to first obey. It's time. It's time. And it's time. And sometimes you will look really silly. I would have loved to be a fly in the wall listening to Abraham telling his family at 75 years old that he's leaving. Okay, hi family, I've gathered you all here today to let you know that I'm going. Oh cool, Abraham, where are you going? I don't know. Who are you going with? I don't know. Are you gonna get there? What? I don't know. How are you gonna know when you're there? Oh, good question. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Who told you to go? God. So what has God said? God said I should just go to a land in which he's gonna show me. How silly would he have sounded? People would have been side-eyeing him, are you sure you heard from God? Because that's not a whole lot to work with. But as long as God has said, go. All things, you don't have to have everything figured out. And people are going to look at you like you're crazy. When you leave a job that is a good job, that pays your bills, and with no backup plan, they're going to side-eye you. But as long as you're walking in the will of God, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter whether other people think you look silly. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's between you and God. You're between you and God. Nobody else is there. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And always remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you listen to this, if you've got to this part, you need to obey God. Whatever he's telling you to do, do it. Do it. Do it. Don't think twice. Don't have no backup plans. Just do it. I love you and see you in my next video.